Thank you very much, John, and good afternoon, everyone. Now, look, I'm relatively new to the industry, so if you've got any technical questions, I'd probably prefer you divert them to my colleagues or speak to me afterwards. I can certainly try. But look, this presentation, I tried to talk more in terms of images rather than just data and stats and so forth on the screen. So may I thank Fritz Lang for his 1927 German film Metropolis, without which I could never have put this presentation together. Anyway, so welcome to the Rise of the Machines. My name's Savvas Aidonopoulos. Any questions, I can have a chat to you afterwards. Anyway, from the dawn of the industrial age, he began. My God, it's going to be a long one today. Heads of industry, like ourselves, and we would all convene to discuss, assess and analyse emerging technologies. Look at innovations and business practices in order to keep industry functioning at full throttle. With little regard for the environment, money was their god and consumerism was key. Boom, 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 boom. Fast forward to today, what's happening? Look, there has been a shift and it's occurring as we speak. Industrials are still functioning, or at least they have desires to do so, at full throttle. However, there's a move away from the traditional at-any-cost business growth model to a measured approach, and one which seeks to mitigate adverse environmental impact. The fact is, we've produced too much, we've consumed far too much, and we haven't clearly thought through what to do with the waste. Drowning in a sea of e-waste or waste. In fact, the machines have risen so much so that they now outnumber us. So welcome to an era that can be best described as consumerism on steroids. Accelerated by the advent of new technology, it's impacting on everything. Some things for the better, other things for the worse. I mean, once-in-a-lifetime storm events, for example, are occurring on a regular basis. Drought and deforestation contributing to the mass extinction of plant and animal species. Oceans choked with so much waste that islands are forming in the middle of the Pacific. Not land islands, but plastic islands. Add to this our addiction to fossil fuels, ever-growing volume of waste being generated across the planet, and presto, Houston, we have a problem. As a 50-something-year-old, I distinctly recall growing up at a time when peace, love and harmony was the mantra. I mean, it was the age of Aquarius in the late 60s, early 70s. It was a period of discovery, for those of you that remember. A moment when we reached for the stars and we also reached out towards nature. Sadly, it hasn't panned out all that well. My generation, we gave birth to rapid industrialisation and to the birth of consumerism. Hurrah. I witnessed IBM's mainframe computer shrink to a handheld device, accessible by all. Communications that were once fixed and linear evolved to portable, multi-directional devices, allowing us to remain engaged, informed and connected, no matter where we were on the planet. We've walked on the moon, we explored Mars, we flew past the furthest points in our solar system. Toppled regimes, not with violence, but with the information provided to people through the ubiquitous nature of the internet and their iPhones. We've even had time to join the largest community outside planet Earth, Facebook. Thanks, technology. Indeed, it's easy to see that electrical devices have, in fact, been good to us and to society. Sadly, it's come at a price, and there are two reasons why. Firstly, the manner industry and government have managed end-of-life waste. Some people may very well say certain folk were sleeping at the wheel. And secondly, the way that society, ourselves, we perceive electronics as single-use convenience items. Use and dispose, move on, get the next one, the next iPhone. You start with a 3, you work your way up to the 10, and then hopefully you'll get to 100. According to a World Economic Forum report that was released about 2 months ago, 50 million tonnes of electronic and electrical waste is produced each year. Okay? To put that in perspective, that's the mass of 125,000 747 jumbo jets. That's more aircraft than ever produced in the history of mankind, but that's just in 1 year alone. And to make matters worse, it's forecast that by 2050, This volume is going to grow to about 120 million tonnes. Now, this same amount of e-waste, it's an issue, but it represents an opportunity for us. Beautiful. So let's take a moment to think about this abundance of on-ground resources that we have that we refer to as waste. Fact, there's 100 times more gold in a tonne of mobile phones than a tonne of gold ore. Fact, harvesting resources from used electronics produces substantially less carbon dioxide. That's a good thing. In fact, working electronic goods and components are worth more than the materials they contain. So therefore, extending the life of products and the components from within makes good economic and environmental sense. You see, identifying, analysing the challenges and opportunities before laying the groundwork is just the first step, but has to be a critical step in the process. I mean, to make this happen, we need vision, awareness and education, collaboration and action. Okay, sorry. Okay. Today we find ourselves working against the clock. The dramatic increase in e-waste is undeniably one of the greatest challenges. Government and industry have responded through waste control mechanisms, import restrictions, China, mandatory and voluntary product stewardship schemes, my favourites. Over a year from the start of China's national sword policy, we're still adjusting to this new world order. While many in the recycling industry have been holding out hope for a policy reversal, they're the ones in the back of the room with blue faces holding their breath. Things will never go back. We're living in the new paradigm, and the clock is in fact ticking. We can't stop it, we can't turn it back. As other nations in Southeast Asia follow China with their own waste importation bans, Australia and other nations are under significant pressures to develop their own materials processing capacities. Here in New South Wales, for example, the New South Wales government has designated e-waste as a, quote, priority stream for funding. I mean, time to buckle up, everyone. The next few years are likely to be challenging for recyclers as downstream supply chains have to reorganise and regulatory risks remain uncertain. According to the European Electronics Recycling Association, a paper that they produced about 4 months ago, this is an opportunity for the circular economy to evolve. What they said was the combined effects of China's policy and the greater public awareness that it's generated in discussion and debate provides an ideal environment to drive innovation. And this can be seen through microfactory recycling models, low energy, low impact metal recovery and purification technologies which are coming online, and the development of automated robotic dismantling and sorting processes, some even including artificial intelligence to assist. So there's a lot of innovation in the background which is spurring through, which is coming to the surface as a result of that. I mean, reading the figures, analysing the trends, it's undeniable that electronic waste and e-waste will continue to grow as Australians and indeed our fellow citizens of the world demonstrate a remarkable hunger for new technology. Rapid innovation is lowering costs, and that has dramatically increased access to electronic products for people across many stratas in society. And sadly, the unintended consequence is ballooning waste. I mean, as a throwaway remark, and I love this one, did you know there are more devices connected to the internet today than what there are human beings on the planet? And you think that's big. Get ready for this one. By next year, 2020, there'll be between 25 and 50 billion devices on the planet. And e-waste is the fastest growing waste stream. And the UN has actually regarded it as a tsunami of waste. It probably doesn't get any more serious in terms of the way that they're really trying to identify it through metaphors. And globally, we're only dealing with about 20%. A lot of it, there is very little data in terms of what happens. And again, that's part of the same UN report. I mean, it's valued at around $62.5 billion per annum. That's the e-waste. Now, let's put this in perspective. Of the 217 nations in the OECD, to get to 62.5 billion, you're at nation number 140. So there's only, 70 odd above that. It's massive amounts of wealth. So in the right hands, all this e-waste is worth considerably more. Changes in technology, such as cloud computing and the Internet of Things, IoT, could potentially hold the key to dematerialise the industry. A new vision for the production and consumption of electronic and electrical goods is needed. I mean, it's easy for e-waste to be framed as a post-consumer item. Let them worry about it. But the issue encompasses the life cycle of the product. Designers, manufacturers, consumers, government and all, we all have a role to play in this. It's not one person's problem, it's everybody's problem. We only have one planet. We don't have a planet for landfill, a planet for entertainment, a planet for working. The future is literally in our hands. Let's regard 2019 as an inflection point in history. Those who can rethink the value chain for electronics and prioritise dematerialisation will have an incredible advantage out there in the marketplace. Innovative technologies do not have to mean more e-waste. They can mean less waste. The prevailing and somewhat draconian industrialised business practice model of take, make and dispose has dreadful consequences. Yes, it is time for a reset. We need a system that functions properly, in which the circular economy replaces the linear. Let's move from concepts introduced at the dawn of industrialisation to concepts that embrace logical work practices and processes that meet today's needs. There's 300 years difference. Incredible opportunities are aligned with embracing sustainable solutions. According to the Global E-Waste Monitor report in 2017, 1/2 of all e-waste is personal devices, stuff that we carry, that we use at work, that we have around our homes and so forth. And a recent report showed that in Europe alone, adapting a circular economy could generate a net economic benefit of €1.8 trillion by 2030. I mean, I don't want to stand before you as a zealot. Good one. I like this shot. But we can't stop this. It's a rapid acceleration of take-up of technology, innovation, contraptions, devices and gadgets. It is the part of the DNA, or it is now the makeup of who we are as human beings. But we do need to better manage it. Oops. As cited earlier, forecasts put the number of phones to 25 and 50 billion. Sadly, these devices will have an end of life. By 2040, carbon emissions from the production and use of electronics will reach 14%. Resource scarcity, extraction and emissions, and indeed consequences. There are in fact growing concerns for the availability and supply of raw materials for electronics and devices into the future. I mean, e-waste contains many high-value items we know, gold, platinum, cobalt, rare earths and so forth. There are opportunities for these recoveries. Think for a moment, up to 7% of the world's gold, 7% at this point in time, is in e-waste. Okay. Closer to my home in Victoria, July 1, great time for change. Victoria will formally ban disposal of e-waste to landfill. This move follows in the footsteps of our friends in South Australia and ACT. The ban is a key piece of policy, and it's envisaged that e-waste, the extraction of metals alone from e-waste in this country, represents $515 million per annum, $500 million. I mean, ANZRP, I'm privileged enough to work for the Australian New Zealand Recycling Platform. I mean, we strongly advocate and support the expansion of the National Television Computer Recycling Scheme at the federal level to include more types, if not all types, of e-waste. Responsible governance by government, manufacturers and producers driven through product stewardship, in our opinion, is key and vital to establishing a circular economy and mitigating the impact of this incredible growth. Tightening up controls on landfill is a wonderful step forward and will lead to positive change. Wearable, pluggable, fashionable. That's our addiction to electronics and communication devices. So just like fashion and fast food, electronics involve a rapid turnover and will continue to do so. Product affordability has opened up all these opportunities, leading to great sales and take-up rates. Eventually, every gadget that's out there will become e-waste. I mean, in 2017, one report put the global consumer electronics market at $1.1 trillion, destined to grow to 1.7 by 2024. So what are we doing? Well, there's a total of 67 countries at the moment that have implemented policy to deal with e-waste they generate. They account for about 2/3 of the global population, but 67, there's 217 in the OECD, so there's still room and scope for growth. We also have the Basel or the Bâle Convention, depending on whom I've spoken to, which talks about export bans of e-waste to developing countries. Sadly, even with a convention in place that has been signed by 188 nations, e-waste is still sent to clandestine operations in Southeast Asia and Africa. I mean, as I pointed out, there's 100 times more gold. Yeah, we know that. The richest earth deposits of valuable materials are now sitting in landfill sites and in our homes. Just look at the smartphone market. 1.46 billion was sold in 2017. It's estimated the raw materials in those items alone is $11.5 billion. So where do we go from here? What's the answer? Surely we're not proposing anarchy. No, we're not. There's no chaos, no disruption to this. The approach is careful and considered, staged, carefully executed. It's holistic and it will affect everyone. It's quite simple. Circular economy. Let's move to it. It'll be achieved through various business models. Okay, to build it, the stepping stones are first and foremost product stewardship. Australia's approach to managing the growing issue of e-waste is founded on the notion of it. This approach acknowledges those involved in producing, selling and using products have a shared responsibility. A key pillar to this is the Product Stewardship Act of 2011 and the NTCRS, which gave rise to ANZRP, my organisation, who's had the pleasure of collecting over 150,000 tonnes of e-waste for recycling since commencing operations in 2012. We're a leader in the safe responsible. We've got 250 locations and we've got 280 sites in Australia and New Zealand. Now these sites are free. We're a not-for-profit organisation, industry funded by the largest IT and electronics companies globally. The second step forward is effective design. Products need to be designed for reuse, durability and safe recycling. Buyback programs, increasing producers of electronics could offer buyback return schemes for old equipment. Advanced recycling and recapturing. Companies and governments can work towards creating a system for closed-loop production. In China, there's a target of 20% recycled content for all new products being produced. Durability of repair, make better products, make them last, and offer an opportunity for people to have them repaired. Urban mining, well, everything that's above the ground, let's grab it. We have the technology, the means and innovation to rework it. Reverse logistics, you've got it, it's at the end of its life. Flick it back, it'll go back to the factory, it'll come back as a new product, or they'll pull it all apart. So where to from here? This is our ground zero. Inevitably, innovation is unstoppable. Technology is ever growing. The machines will continue to replicate. Everyone in this room will update their devices over the next 12, 24 months, further adding to the problem. The time to act is now. We have the means, the vision, the supporting infrastructure, the compelling data, the services out there to transition towards a circular economy. With the world's e-waste markets shutting their doors, now never sounded so urgent. Thank you very much.